What's up, gentlemen? The pigs are back for another episode of the Blind Pig Podcast, courtesy of bgobsession.com. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. Love to see you. If you're new to this, just want to let you know you can catch us on all major audio platforms. Obviously, if you're streaming us, you can catch us on YouTube as well as on every social, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, swing by the website, bgobsession.com. We're still doing some late entries. Well, we were. I think we've cut it now with some of our contests, but a lot of cool discussion going on at the board. Absolutely free to join. So please feel free to jump on in.
Hey,
I
am a humble, contrite, non-homeristic from this point on pig. I feel like it. I don't know about you guys, but I think Derek, maybe you came in and were pretty skeptical about what was going to happen on last Sunday. But it's like the old Charlie Brown football thing. Lucy pulls the football away again. That analogy. So I just feel like a total dumbass, thinking we were going to go in there and smack Tampa Bay.
I was just trying to be realistic. Like I had to leave the game chat a little early. By the way, if you want to join the board, we do have a game chat that we run free, totally free. If you want to get on and chat it up on the site, it's all internal and everything. So, but in the game, I had to leave. I came into that game knowing we have a rookie quarterback. We have an offense that's never run an offense with live fire before. We have a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, new head coach. We turned over 61% of our roster. We were coming into situations where there's so much new going on. To expect them to come in and not and be tight, it's almost impossible. Like I didn't expect it to be that bad. I thought the defense would, on sheer talent in the interior, would probably hold its own a little better than that. But let's be honest, Tampa Bay was 7 points away from an NFC championship last year. They have arguably the best receiving core in the NFL, and they have one of the best defensive minds in the league. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't that upset because I picked the game. Not that I'm happy we lost. It's just kind of more about what I expected to happen. And
what was your instant reaction to what you saw, Tony?
Yeah, I was just disappointed in the defense, especially. I thought at least in the second half they would at least start to get their stuff together. But yeah, I think like Derek was saying, there's more that we probably should have expected. It was more like a glorified preseason game for our guys because this was the first time a lot of them even played, and then let alone playing together. And yeah, they just didn't have it from the beginning. And then there's a lot of games. There's always like hidden parts of the game. Like every time we missed a kick, besides leaving points on the board, it also set up the Bucs with a short field. And then that kickoff that went out of bounds. Another time the Bucs got even further up the field too. So all those little things, that weird block in the back penalty that probably shouldn't have been. Who knows what happens there? If he does connect with Terry McLaurin on that deep shot, that's at least something. But overall, they just weren't on.
Yeah, if I was going to
just weren't clicking.
If I was going to pick 3 words to describe Sunday, it would be out of sync. Because we seemed out of sync from the very first play, that very first passing play.
Yeah.
Where it looked like B-Rob, who played generally pretty well.
He played good.
Especially later in the game. But it just looked like he didn't know what the play was at that point, or Jaden just totally mishandled the pass. But anyway, I guess the things that jumped out at me, and again, the caveat tonight is it's one game, right? We got to say that. It's one game. It doesn't mean the whole season's going to be a disaster, but I guess the things that jumped out at me were I knew the cornerbacks were not going to be a strong point. But last week I talked about how I felt like our safety room was kind of stocked, that we had some talent there. But, I mean, it didn't look like we had a lot of talent there on Sunday. Chen didn't do much. Quan Martin looked lost most of the game, got abused. It didn't look good. And then the outside was a disaster. Now, I'll give St. Juste a little bit of a pass because some of those plays he got burned on were, I don't know that if Darryl Green could have broken those plays up. He
was in perfect position on the touchdown.
Yeah, that one
I can't be mad. Yeah. Like, what are you supposed to That
Yeah.
was Mike Evans being Mike Evans. I mean, that's just a 6'4" mammoth making a play on the ball. Like,
So the cornerback situation is concerning. And then the other two things that jumped out at me were, I was surprised at how little pressure we got on Mayfield. And I know we got in the backfield, especially again as the game went on, but we could not. I mean, it's one thing to get in the backfield. It's another thing to get your hands on the quarterback and either knock him down or disrupt him. And we weren't able to do that at all. John Allen was, I don't want to say he was a non-factor because that would be an asinine thing to say because he's always the factor. But I just was kind of like, I couldn't believe that we couldn't get more pressure on him. And because I was counting on that. And then the third thing that really jumped out at me is I have no idea. And I'm a Cliff Kingsbury fan. I think what he did in Arizona was pretty impressive. If you go back and look at his 3 seasons offensively, I have no idea what the hell that game plan was. I mean, it's like we just went into I don't know if he wants to prove to the whole world that we're not an air raid offense. We sure as hell weren't. We weren't even an air offense. Forget air raid. We didn't even really have a passing game to speak of. And I don't know how much of that is on Cliff Kingsbury and how much of that is on Jaden Daniels, because I have no idea whether he's changing plays or it's option plays but anyway, you cannot have, and again, we're not saying anything that every Redskins fan in America that watched that game isn't thinking, but you can't have Terry McLaurin getting a couple of targets, and you can't have Austin Eckler being your your first or second leading receiver. I know that the running backs, we only had 24 targets in the whole game. We only threw it 24 times, I believe, or maybe it's 24 completions, but 8 of those were to the running backs. I mean, that's a problem, a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, the whole game, every phase just wasn't with it. And then, like, the time of possession had to sucked. It felt like the Bucs always had the ball and they were just continuing, and then we'd go 3 and out or what have you. So yeah, it was just not a good game all around.
Just a couple stats. To your point, 33 minutes and 41 seconds to 26-19. So they held the ball 7 minutes longer than we did. We had the same number of first downs. We were 2 for 8 on third downs. They were 9 for 13. They ran 61 plays. We ran 56. So
that had to be like padded at the end of the game, though, because
I think part of that is Jaden Daniels attempted 24 passes, but he also had 16 carries. Now, I know some people are losing their mind about that number. I'm not going to lose my mind yet because I saw multiple times that I think he was the one that determined he was going to run the ball, especially down in the goal line. I saw someone post on Twitter, it might have even been on the board, asking your rookie quarterback to pound his head into a wall until you score a touchdown is bad coaching. No, we were running tempo, and he ran audible more than one time where you saw him getting them to the line of scrimmage. So I have to believe that he had as much of a say in that as Kingsbury did. And maybe him and Kingsbury need to put their heads together now, and as film is getting developed, and say, dude, you don't need to be throwing for half as many yards or running for half as many yards you're passing for. Okay. 16 carries for 88 yards at 5.5 average and 2 touchdowns. We have guys that we pay to do that. They're called running backs. You know what I mean? So, but to your point, Eckler had the most targets or most catches at 4. Robinson had the second most at 3, then Ertz. So of his 17 completions, 10 of them went to 2 running backs and a tight end. Terry McLaurin, I don't think even got his first target until the third quarter, if I'm remembering correctly. So, yeah, there's some frustrations there about wondering, what is going on. But I say that to say week 1 Washington Commanders, I think, is going to be a lot different than week 6 and week 7 and week 8. Like, this is almost a feeling out process. You know what I mean? The other part of that is the strength of Tampa Bay is their D-line and their safeties. So, Winfield's a man. Like, that's a grown-ass man back there. And Vita Vea in that interior D-line can wreak havoc. So, was the game plan on this particular day We need to get the ball out quick. Jaden, if your first read is not there, you need to look for your check down. If you see a lane, run. And he did these awkward dive fall things, but he wasn't taking hits. I don't know. I'm speculative at this point.
I guess the only thing I would say to that is when they lose three defensive backs, like
take a shot. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It would seem that we would be trying to take advantage of that, and it didn't seem like we did. I heard a lot of people freaking out in the chat room about that he wasn't sliding, and I actually saw some posts on social media today where they were talking about they've done research that actual like that turtle roll that he's doing there is safer than sliding, that there's a lot more risk of head injury and chest and shoulder injuries with sliding. So I don't really have a problem with that. I thought like for the most part, other than a couple of runs up the gut, which I'm like, why are we running them up the gut? That shouldn't be happening. But I thought for the most part, he did a pretty good job of protecting himself.
Yeah, I really didn't have much of a problem with his running because, he was picking up first downs. Like last year, our quarterback would have just held the ball and got sacked. At least this time, we have someone who's electric and can actually pick up the first down. And the tumble thing might look awkward, but he was getting down and he wasn't getting ragdolled. So I didn't think
worried
about that.
What'd you guys think about the O-line? Because I was kind of surprised at how little pressure they were getting on Daniels, and he had time. It wasn't like last year with Howell where it was just a bull rush all across the line. To me, he looked like he had time, at least in the first half.
Yeah, from what I could tell, I thought the O-line was improved from last year. It didn't seem like it was just constant breakdowns like it had been last year. And one of the beat guys pointed out on that first touchdown, the lead blockers were Brandon Coleman and Sinnott. So I thought that was cool too, that Coleman got in there. And when he did get in there, he was playing pretty well too.
One other little elaboration on the offense, and just a little frustration is, and John, you posted on the board, Eckler's a weapon. Like that guy still got some stuff. There's juice. And I was a little frustrated that we didn't even see him until, the latter part of the game. Me personally, I would not, if I was starting, if I was coaching, I would have come out the gate throwing a little more, but it would have been that fast stuff to get, wide receiver screen to McLaurin or screen pass or swing pass or Eckler to the outside just to get that rhythm going a little bit. I wish we would have seen a little more of that, because once Jaden started getting a little more comfortable, I want to say he was running, as we entered either the second quarter or the third quarter, he had only had like 65 or 70 yards passing. And then you blinked and he was 150. You know what I mean? Like he started hitting some connections and they weren't big explosive plays. He took that shot to Terry where he actually overthrew him, which, most quarterbacks don't do that. And it was the flick of a wrist and it was downfield and he was open and the timing just wasn't synced up perfectly, and that'll come in time.
We haven't had a quarterback who could overthrow Terry McLaurin.
Right.
Yeah.
Most
a good point.
So that'll come back a little bit. You know what I mean? I think that'll get better with time. And again, first, I hope the fans haven't lost their mind already, and we just kind of reset the expectations back to, what we were kind of where I think we should be.
I guess the one thing I've heard that irks me some, and again, nobody watching that game everyone watching that game on Sunday had the same feelings, but I think the people that are saying, well, we might as well have kept Rivera, it's the same as Rivera. It's like, look, we have one game as a body of evidence. Like, don't do that, man. Don't compare one game with everything that Derek described in terms of all the newness.
Yeah.
And then compare that to what we saw for 3 years with Rivera. And I'm not saying it was all terrible with Rivera, but I just think that's ridiculous. And we are traumatized, right? This is like, I feel like the chat that we do on Sundays, it's like a big group therapy session when it's not going well. We are all so traumatized over just year after year after year of like thinking this year will be different, and then it isn't. And, but this, Dan Quinn and all the guys and Joe Witt Jr. and all the guys they brought in, they don't have anything to do with all those previous failures. And we just really need to that's our own baggage and shit that we have to, we just kind of have to let that go and give them a chance. Which I know that's hard to do when you're a fan and
it's hard. But
and to that point, they're already again showing that they have their finger on the pulse of the team. 5 hours ago, Cade York got released, and now we've already apparently brought in another kicker. I mean, let them work. You know what I mean? Like, I think we all agree. Look,
and I think like across the league, like everyone needs to know. No one, fans are all guilty of it, but over extrapolating for the first game and like taking what you see in one game, especially the first game where janky things happen, and going overboard. I mean, last year we won our first game and we sucked, so it's not like people need to like overly freak out either way. I don't think the Saints are going to score 47 points or whatever every week just because they did against the Panthers. Like it's just the first week. There are things, obviously, we're all disappointed in how they played, but I don't think it's any, referendum on the whole season.
And I hope people realize that it's probably going to look similar to this, gradually getting better over the next month, or 6 weeks. I don't think the Giants game, and we can use this as a segue if we want. I don't expect us to come into this Giants game looking flawless. You know what I mean? It's just we're still going to be growing.
What we don't know yet, what we haven't seen yet, and we're going to see it over the course of the season is, I think one of the biggest frustrations with the Rivera teams were that we would go up there and like upset Philly in their place or take them to the wire, in a year when they won the Super Bowl, and then we would lose to the Giants or we would lose to Chicago, get trucked by a bad Chicago team. And so what we haven't seen yet with this new crew is how do we handle teams that we really probably should beat. And I think I don't want to go to the Giants just yet, but I think they are a team that we probably, at least arguably, could and should beat. I just want to mention one other thing because we kind of skimmed past Jaden Daniels. Setting aside kind of the weird play calling that we saw, and it's just a weird game in general, I think, in terms of how it transpired. But I thought he showed the same poise. I mean, the kid just doesn't get overly excited. He never looks like he's panicking. He just moves. He moves the pocket. He takes off if it's there. But to me, that was my impression. Is he just looked very calm and like he knew what he was doing out there. Whether it worked out on every play or not, it didn't. But I really like that. At no point did I see him like in a panic moment. At least I didn't see it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I was still confident in Jaden. He played well, and like you said, he didn't lose his cool whenever things weren't going his way. I thought he had control of everything, and he was giving his best effort. It wasn't always working out, but I didn't lose confidence in the way he played.
Was I the only one that flipped the hell out I guess there's a new rule. We need to investigate this because it's going to come up multiple times this year. The new rule where the officiating crew can decide to do a review on a play just because
on an illegal man downfield.
Oh yeah.
Setting aside whether they got it right, because I don't think that matters in terms of the conversation, but I was just like, I know everyone in the chat room was like, "What? What do you mean? What are they doing?"
Yeah, when did that become a thing?
I'd never heard of that.
Apparently, it's a thing.
Yeah, and in this game, it ultimately didn't matter. But that could happen in some.
I think it was like a rapid review, is what they call it. Rapid review,
in some close game, it's going to like decide the game at some point.
But what are the parameters? That's my question. Is why, if that was the case, why didn't they review the illegal block in the back? You know what I mean? Like,
well, they tried Dean Blandino out, and I didn't know anything more than before he came out.
Yeah,
he didn't really say anything. I don't know why they trotted him out, but
I agree.
I would like to know more about that rule because I'm just not a fan at all of more impact from the officials in NFL games. I don't think we need him any more involved than they already are. It's like, good God.
Yeah, especially when we don't know and it just feels arbitrary. They're like, oh, let's just review this specific one.
It's like doing a full commercial break with 10 seconds to go, right?
Yeah.
Like, who does that? What are you doing? Like, anyway.
Yeah.
One other thing I do want to address, before we totally move on, is I did see some frustration with us punting down 2 scores with like 7 minutes to go or something. Honestly, I personally think we were not in a win-win situation at that point. There was no way to win that. If we go for it on 4th and 8, the best case scenario, we get it. The second, that's the only good thing that could happen. Of the other scenarios, one, we don't get it, and we end up turning the ball over, giving up a short field, and then giving up another touchdown. 2, somebody key goes out there, and on a meaningless 4th and 8 in a game you're down by 2 scores, somebody gets hurt. You know what I mean? And seriously hurt. We know it can happen quickly. In 3, nobody gets hurt, but Jaden Daniels or somebody else just gets their head crushed, beat in, and you further just complete, the bludgeoning.
Mm-hmm.
I had no problem with it. I don't think it's submitting. I don't think it's tanking. I think it was the smarter thing to do, because at the end of the day, I don't think their focus is squeaking out or risking so much for a week 1 win in the first year of this thing in 2024. It's prioritizing and understanding where you're at, and I think they do have a rational idea of the plan. You know what I mean? And we just got to be patient, and we got to watch it happen and let them cook, as they say, because we haven't done that in how long? How long it's been since we've been patient? We want Sam Howell to be it. We want we want Taylor Heineke to be it. We want Alex Smith to be it. We want Ryan Fitzpatrick to be it. We want Dwayne Haskins to be it.
You forgot Fitzmagic.
Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah.
Let's let this thing work. Let's understand that the more important thing is Jaden Daniels getting reps, and Brandon Coleman getting reps, and Biotish working with Allegretti and working with Cosme and working with all. You know what I mean? And let's build this thing for sustained winning, not let's hope we can sneak up on people, because damn it, I'm ready for us to go into a game and be confident, not, well, if they're not paying attention, we might get them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm tired of that.
Exactly.
So did you guys see Dan Quinn's presser today? Did you catch that at all?
Today's
I
one,
unfortunately did
He
not.
said it was Tell the Truth Tuesday, or Monday. I don't know what it was, but he did address that. He said that he thought about it, but because there was a whole quarter left, he didn't feel like. He said if there was a little bit less time left in the game, they might have made a different call there. But he was pretty calm today. I mean, he got asked a lot of hard questions, and I don't think he said anything. It probably annoys some people because he basically said, "Look, we're just going to keep learning from everything good and bad that happens. It's a work in progress. This is just the beginning, So he didn't have a lot to say, I don't think, but he didn't offer any excuses. And I think the biggest thing was he just kind of acknowledged, what we all saw, which was some good, some not good, and that it's going to take time. So.
Well, I guess that means we can start talking about the team we got coming up on Sunday. John, you made a point, you touched on it. This is a team we should beat. This is a team that is not only talent deficient, they've been talent deficient. They have leadership issues. I think their coach is probably the first one to get fired this year. There's not much to their game that would lead you to believe that they're better than anybody they step on the field with. So sheer talent alone should allow us to be, at a minimum, competitive to the final minutes. So I'm just curious, what are you guys looking at with the Giants? And I guess we can kind of touch on it offensively. Is there anything that you have circled that jumps off the page at you before we get into predictions?
I mean, Daniel Jones, and we all know, like, Daniel Jones suddenly turns into Joe Montana when he plays Washington, but he was pretty bad. I looked at his numbers: 22 of 42, 186 yards and 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. They had a lot of penalties. I think 9 penalties. He got sacked 5 times, which is not all on him. But I don't know, man. I've always felt like I have a really good friend at work who's a Giants fan, and we just start laughing every Monday when I see him walking down the hallway. We just bust out laughing, most weeks, because neither one of us can talk smack to the other one on most Mondays. But I just can't believe they've put all their eggs in the Daniel Jones basket, and they just seem to keep doubling down on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that they're ever going to get better until they figure something out more better than Daniel Jones.
Yeah, when we did our, pre-season, like breaking down the rosters of all the NFC East, consistently the Giants were at the bottom for every position group. And I still, you can still see from the first game, they're not very talented. The Ron Rivera is gone, so hopefully the Daniel Jones overperforming against us stuff comes to an end. And right now, I guess it's probably going to be a competitive game, just because we stunk it up the first game. But hopefully, we're ascending. We got the bad game under, we got that under our belt now, and we can start to progress and look hopefully incrementally better as the season goes on. And thankfully, we have the Giants for this week. Not because I'm not expecting some amazing thing, but at least it's a team that's not like a world beater type team that we can go up against.
Well, I guess when I look at it compared to the Bucs, they're kind of the mirror image of the Bucs in terms of they are terrible. They have a terrible passing offense so far. They were 29th in yards last year overall on offense. They were 31st as a passing offense. They were decent, middle of the road with rushing.
But what did they lose in the offseason?
Yeah,
Saquon Barkley.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to stop you, but I'm just saying they might have been running 29th in yards, 31st in passing. So if they were somewhere 25th to 27th in rushing, they were doing that with Saquon Barkley.
So we shouldn't in a normal universe, we should not be terrified by their passing attack. And then on the flip side of the ball, they were equally bad against the run in 2023. They were 29th in giving up rushing yardage last year. So we shouldn't have to be too afraid of their passing attack, and we ought to be able to pound the ball down their throats. In a normal universe, in a non-Washington, New York typical game from the last 10 years where they play much better than they play against anyone else.
To your point, against Minnesota, they got blown out 28-6. Devin Singletary was their leading ball carrier, 10 carries for 37 yards. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Daniel Jones had 2 picks, including 1 pick six. They were behind the entire game. He attempted 42 passes, completed 22 of them for 186 yards. So the second leading rusher was Daniel Jones with 6 carries for 15 yards.
I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what I'm looking for next weekend. We have to start. At some point, we've got to develop a home field advantage. We have not had a home field advantage in a long time. I mean, like in terms of we win at home, the fans are crazy enthusiastic because we're winning at home. It's loud. It's an event. We just haven't had that. Yeah. I mean, last year, the season opener was pretty. There was a lot of hype, and I think that was all because of.
There was a lot. Yeah, there was a vibe.
Snyder had just gotten fired. Had just sold the team, so there was a lot of that. Not so much on the football side, just a general feeling of ding dong, the witch is dead, and everyone was all the money.
BGO was there in force, we brought the thunder. We
and so we won that home opener barely, but we did. Mm-hmm. So I just think that's one thing aside from the actual game. I really want to see that change, and maybe it'll never change completely while we're in Northwest Stadium, aka FedEx Field. But maybe it's going to take us moving to a smaller, more intense kind of an environment. But I think the first step is start beating the teams that you can beat and should beat. And because that's, like I said, especially during the Rivera era, it was almost like the bigger the underdog we were, the better our chances were of pulling off an upset. We just never could seem to beat the teams that we were favored to beat, or at least, had a fighting chance to beat.
Yeah, that's true. I think you can get the home field advantage. We just got to start winning, and then people will, more and more people will attend and not be like, oh, this game doesn't matter, or we suck. It doesn't, because even like in 2012 when we were electric and good, people were coming to the games then. And then specifically with this week, with Daniel Jones, I feel like against the Bucs, we had a lot of almost sacks. We just couldn't quite get there. And Daniel Jones is somewhat athletic, but he's also more prone to taking sacks. So hopefully this week we can manufacture pressure
and making bigger mistakes.
Yeah,
Daniel Jones is. We have to force him to make mistakes, man.
Yeah,
like, and the best thing that maybe that's part of what can be the turnaround against the Daniel Jones is we have interior pressure and outside discipline. You know what I mean? How many times do we watch somebody go rushing 9 yards upfield and then Daniel Jones breaks it through the gap and goes 60? You know what I mean? Like, I hate. Yeah. That's just makes you want to pound your head. Maybe that's what changes, is that we run that exterior contain a little bit. I don't know. I'm speculating, but we've all seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So one big change from 2023, Wink Martin, we were talking before the pod started tonight. Wink Martindale, I guess, stormed out of New York. I don't know if he got fired.
He just went AWOL.
So he's like, gone. I'm done with this. Can't deal with this bullshit anymore. And they have a new guy, Shane Bowen. And all we know is that he gave up 28 points to the Sam Darnold-led Vikings.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. 21. They had a pick six. So we got to be honest. We got to give them credit for that. Right. Sorry, John. Didn't mean to railroad you.
I guess the other question I have, which we can't answer, but we can certainly throw our ideas against the wall. We got a new kicker today, Austin somebody else. I don't know what his name is, but I did look up his stats. He's been around for like 5 seasons. On the career side, he's like an 80.3, 80.4% field goal kicker. He never missed under 40 yards in his career, but he's only 2 for 6 from 50 yards out. So anyway, I mean, it can't be any worse than what we've had so far. So we'll see there. But what I wanted to ask you guys is, do you see any other changes? Like, is Emmanuel Forbes going to be trotted out there as a starter next week?
I would guess not. I don't know. I saw Noah Igmahabani, whatever. Igmahabani. Yeah, Noah I saw him playing a lot more in the second half. So maybe they'll swap that out. One thing that I was pleasantly surprised with is Jamin Davis flashed last week. So
multiple times.
Yeah. So I wonder if we'll see him in more packages this week.
Especially in run defense. Like, he was more than pass rush. He was back making, TFLs against running backs. Like, I was excited to see that.
I was glad to see that we got McCaffrey involved. And he probably saved us from even a worse day with that, what I think was kind of a stupid gadget play, just because let's try to run some plays that are actually relatively simple to execute and show that we can do that before we start doing crazy Cliff Kingsbury gadget plays. But, he turned a terrible situation into just not good. He saved the day on that one play by not trying to carry out the rest of the play. But I want to see more of Ben Sinnott, man. I don't know why he didn't play more. I mean, I know he's a rookie, but other than that, Ertz looked okay to me. Looked a little kind of old in the tooth to me, but I would like to see Ben Sinnott a little bit more in this one.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the team that we see in week 7, 8, 9 largely is going to be a lot different than the team we see now.
Mhm.
I think it's been calculated that they're not gonna hyper focus on certain things this early in the process. So I think there's a lot that's gonna be different in a couple weeks, including guys like Sinnott getting more. He's, again, to your point, and I'd love to see him. He is still a rookie. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what his grasp of the offense is. I wonder with that trick play with McCaffrey, if that was them just trying to get the guys to loosen up a little bit.
Mhm.
Maybe those guys run that play in practice and they have a lot of fun with it, and they're like, you know what, fuck it, we're not doing much. Let's just go
Yeah,
put
that point
a
in the
play
game.
in that the guys are going to have fun with, and then just to get them to trying to get their heads back up a little bit. I don't know. Again, speculation. So I'm not trying to justify. I think it was a little crazy, and Luke McCaffrey made a really good decision not to throw it back to Jaden.
Yeah.
But I will say what scares me about this team is Malik Neighbors. I can see Malik Neighbors really punishing us. But behind him is it's a lot of Wandale Robinson. Like and their number 3 receiver was Darius Slayton and then a bunch of guys you don't know. So
I have good news for you, Derek. I have really good news for you on Malik Neighbors, and that's that he's on my fantasy team. So the odds of him like busting out.
Oh.
We're probably looking at 3 catches and a fumble,
12 yards. So
hey, I gotta throw this out there, man. I had a terrible weekend I got trucked in fantasy. I was dead last in the BGO pick'em contest this week. I think I only got 8 games correct, which, I mean, a monkey on the dartboard could do better than that. And but deep into the fourth quarter, I was still in chat saying Virginia came back from a 30-17 deficit in the fourth quarter. Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. That's right. Yeah, I didn't even look at my pick'em. I know I was struggling after the first half of games. I didn't look at it after that. All right, boys. Do we want to get to predictions?
Yeah, I think
we
so.
have a couple honorary shout outs in the thread, right?
Yeah, I think, I think Bob made a prediction, and I think
all right, Bob. And I quote, "For any other team in the league, seeing the Giants on the schedule would be a relief after yesterday's game in Tampa. It would be nearly the perfect, quote, get-right game. The Giants are bad, except that they are never bad against us. If this game were in New York, I'd be concerned we could open the season 0-2. Playing in D.C., I am mostly concerned that we don't look convincing against a team that we absolutely should look convincing against. Commanders win 24-21. That's Bob. Jot that down so I can update the spreadsheet. By the way,
did anyone call us to lose last week, or it was you? You were the only one.
Yeah, but I said 27-23, and we got
a little worse than
yeah, it was a little.
There was a 7 in their score and a 2 in our score, so I was that close to it. But so I don't think Paul sent his prediction in, did he? He said he was out, but I don't think I'll message him and I'll add it to the up spreadsheet. But Tony, what do you think is going to happen, brother?
Yeah, I think we look a little better this week, and we put some more together than we did in game 1. I'm going to go in a close game as well, but it's going to be, I'm going to say 23-17 Commanders.
So I think getting smacked in the mouth last weekend was, I think they're going to want to do better at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they'll probably come out fired up the way I thought they were going to come out in Tampa Bay. One thing, I just want to throw this out there because one of our long-term members, Skins Orlando, obviously lives in Florida, and he said the heat down there was like some of the worst humidity and just terrible conditions to play in that he's ever experienced at an NFL game, and he's been to quite a few down there. So that might have been a little bit of a factor. Anyway, I kind of see it the way that Tony does. I also predicted 23-17 good guys. And I think Eckler is going to be the star of this one. I think he's going to have a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown.
Yeah, that dude still got it, man. You could see Tampa's a good tackling team, and he was breaking tackles.
I made the comment in chat. He may not like to rush up the gut, but he can damn well do it.
Oh, yeah. That dude's an athletic freak.
He took a shot on one of those runs where he just got absolutely plastered, and he jumped right back like nothing happened. I live about 80 miles west of the city or the stadium, and it's saying it's going to be partly cloudy and 81 on Sunday.
Okay.
With light winds southeast at 8 miles an hour. Closer to the bay, it might not be as bad. There probably won't be as much wind. I live in a valley, so yeah, I think I'm gonna follow suit with you guys. I'll change a little bit up. I think we look better. I think we're more talented. I could see this is a type of game where Jaden breaks a long run, Terry breaks a long run off a catch, Eckler breaks a long one. I'm not saying all of it's gonna happen, but that's the kind of play that we could quickly find ourselves sniffing 30. Because I think that the Giants are just that bad. I'm gonna say 27-23. So similar score point to you guys, similar win variable. I don't think our defense is there yet to the point where we're going to pitch a shutout against anybody. But it's not hard to get to 23 in the NFL. So
you have to think they're going to be like working overtime to get Terry McLaurin some chances, because you just cannot have that. You cannot have a game where he gets targeted 2 or 3 times. It's just not.
Yeah, not even until almost the second half. I agree.
Yeah, gotta get him going early.
So, boys, we'll solicit some other people on the site. Obviously, if you've made it this far, we appreciate everything with you. And if you missed the intro, please like and share. Give us all the love. Come by bgobsession.com. Jump on the pick'em. Obviously, we all aren't doing very well, so you could really, really quickly get yourself back into the mix. And then, get involved in the conversation because we enjoy it. So, if that's all, fellas, we'll reconvene next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Oh, time out before I go.
Can I add one thing real quick?
Yeah.
To anyone that hasn't yet, when you jump in and you get on the boards or everything, just know that when we disagree on this, what thing that I think makes this special is people disagree without being jerks. Whereas at other places on the interwebs, it devolves into something horrible. So that's one of the best things about here is you can talk, discuss, disagree, but it's all good.
Yep. Thanks, Tony.
Yep. One thing, and I would be remiss if I didn't. We also do have some secondary boards that aren't geared specifically to the team. And we have the 5 o'clock club, and we have a celebrity passings thread. And we don't usually call out passings, but today, an absolute legend, James Earl Jones passed at 93. This guy was the voice of a lot of people's childhoods in a lot of different ways. I mean, some of the most iconic roles in every level of film, whether that be live action, whether that be voiceover, whether everything. So I got to give a shout out to James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Because that one hit different. You know what I mean? That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a good one.
All right, fellas.
We're gonna have more fun talking next week.
Next week. All right, boys. We'll catch you later.
All right. Night.
All righty.
Night.